Kristian Franklin, come on down. You're the next contestant to host The Price is Right.
Welcome to the show. Our first item up for bid is a brand new game show host. This includes experience in Final Cut Pro, web script writing, lighting, miking, camera operations, and more. She possesses the skills to engage an audience and excite a crowd. This young lady could be your next host if the price is right. So did the audience win Kristian Franklin as the brand new host? You'll just have to tune in next week to find out. When I get off work, I have to clean, cook, put kids to bed, and take care of myself. But even Supermom needs a day off. That's when I call Nanny 911. It's a nanny at your doorstep. She makes dinner, she washes dishes, she even reads your kids a bedtime story. She's the awesome sidekick. The best part is, it's so affordable. If you call today, the first month's only $99. So call 1-800-NANNY-911. I'm glad I did. My name is Kristian Franklin, and you're watching State of Events. Our top story today, a school shooting at Reynolds High School near Portland. A 15-year-old boy opened fire June 10th at his high school, killing one student, injuring many, and ultimately killing himself. The student was identified as Jared Michael Paget. Officials said this could have been much worse if the school didn't respond as quickly as they did. Obama gives a speech on gun violence. He says the nation should be ashamed of its inability to get tougher gun restrictions through Congress in the aftermath of mass shootings that have become commonplace in America. Obama says nothing will change until public opinion demands it. Why is Colorado Democratic Governor John Hickenlooper bashing his own gun control laws? Governor Hickenlooper felt as if he was not given all the information of the legislation he said he would sign on his platform. He apologizes. He says we were performing legislation without basic facts, which I think is a bad idea in every case. The bill limited the sale of high-capacity magazine clips of the kind that made the violence at Aurora movie theater shooting much worse than it ordinarily would have been. The bill also includes increased background checks on gun purchases and a limit of sales to people convicted of domestic violence. Stay tuned for more news after this commercial break. Good afternoon, my name is Kristian Franklin, and you're watching State of Events Sports Edition. On Tuesday, June 24th, the Warriors held a two-day mini-camp for free agent players. This allowed them a close-up look at a handful of intriguing talent and noteworthy names. Of course, none of them were nearly as coveted as LeBron James. However, the Warriors are known for finding players that other teams saw as posers. Overall, the facility had players with over 15 years of NBA experience combined. Now we're pitching to baseball. Word in the dugout is Edwin Escobar will be the Giants' representative for the 2014 Series XM All-Star Futures game on Sunday, July 13th at Target Field. The 22-year-old is the Giants' best prospect, rates MLB.com. He was 5-4 with a 2.67 ERA in 10 starts last season. This is the fourth consecutive year the Giants have had one representative in the Futures game. Well, that's all I have for today. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Kristian Franklin, and this is State of Events Sports Edition. See you next time. Welcome to State of Events Entertainment News. You already know I'm your host, Kristian Franklin. Today we're covering the do's and don'ts in fashion for celebrities. First up, Miley Cyrus. She wore some latex two-piece during the VMA performance. This is a huge don't, when obviously she's been skipping squat days at the gym. Next, here's Rihanna. She's showing quite a bit of skin at the CFDA Awards this year. But because this dress has so much detail in it, it was handmade with diamonds. Rihanna truly does look like royalty in it. I'll say it's a do. She rocked this outfit. So yes, for Rihanna. Lastly, we have Nicki Minaj. I have to give her some credit. She has transformed so much in the last 2 to 3 years. She's no longer rocking the colored wigs and wearing rainbow colors at one time. So a huge yes to her and her new look. Well, that's all the time I have today. I hope you've enjoyed my fashion do's and don'ts for celebrities. Until next time, stay classy, San Francisco. Welcome to State of Events. I'm Kristian Franklin, and today we're talking music. Our first guest is no amateur to the music industry. He produces beats and he's a DJ at multiple clubs such as Sloan and John Collins. You might know him as Left Lang. Please welcome Tomas Wisherath.
Thank you for having me. I love your show.
Thank you so much for joining me. It's awesome that you were able to come and make it.
Yeah, no problem.
So I want to take a quick flashback to your past into how you even started getting into music and when you realized like your love for music.
Okay. I've been into music as long as I could remember. I started making, I had a mentor when I was young who was a drummer, taught me how to drum in like 5th grade, and then picked that up. And then after I was done with school, that middle school, I didn't have access to a drum set anymore, so I started doing beats on my computer. So that kind of led to just making beats, in my room after school, every single day. And so that was kind of my thing all throughout high school, and that eventually led into interest in DJing and just sound in general.
That's awesome. I love how you kind of like kept pursuing your dream even though you didn't have all like the resources for it.
Yeah, I feel like with any art you can always make do with what you have, and that's where the best art comes from. Usually,
I can feel it. So I also know you have a twin that's also into music. How was that like growing up with your brother and back and forth maybe with music? Did you guys ever collaborate together on any type of songs and stuff?
Not yet, actually. Very rarely. Yeah. So I do have an identical twin.
Yeah.
And we both grew up doing creative stuff, drawing. I got into music a long time before he did, and it was kind of my thing for a while. And then toward the end of high school and in the last couple of years, I've taught him how to make beats too, just how to use the computer programs.
Nice.
And he's kind of taken that and launched off into his own creative thing. So he's got his own band. It's called Monatomic Gold.
Sweet.
And he's doing a lot of really cool stuff too. It's great to have that feedback, that bounce back and forth from another creative, especially a brother. It's honest feedback, to say the least, but it's the best kind.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but we haven't collaborated yet. I think that we both just want to get our own styles out, release our own music, so that when we do collaborate, people will be like, oh my God, they actually did a track together.
Should.
So yeah,
you definitely should. I'll definitely be looking out for it.
Cool.
But even though you guys, you said, are definitely identical, you have different genres. So tell me about your genre in the music industry.
Yeah, very different. I think that we both just took different influences. My influences came from when we were both really little. It was a lot of international music, like Gypsy Kings, Buena Vista Social Club. And then in high school, we deviated in the kind of music that we liked. So I went into a lot more hip hop stuff, got into Dr. Dre, Timberland, Pharrell, all the 2000s producers. And so that was kind of my drive. My brother got into bands, the Shins, the Strokes, and that he kind of went that direction, much more like indie rock kind of stuff. And so with that, our music styles is very different. We're also very different just in general as people. But it's kind of cool because he'll put me onto music that I've never heard before, and then I'll introduce him to music. And so we kind of have a broad taste.
That's awesome. So as your parents, like having you guys grow up into music, did they ever push like, no, go into academics, just because the music industry is competitive? It's really like...
Yeah, I've heard that a lot, growing up, just don't do it. But
Yeah.
my parents were not those people.
That's awesome.
Yeah, my mom and my stepdad were very supportive. They would just, whatever makes me happy. My mom was kind of a hippie, and she came from Denmark, and she came to the States when she was about my age. And her whole thing is just do what really makes you happy. If you can find that, then you're good. So I've had a lot of support from them.
Okay, that's awesome. I'll move on to a Yeah, so becoming a producer, back to you making beats and stuff, what's the challenging part of it? Because, like we were just talking about, it is challenging to get into the music industry. But other than that, what else is challenging about being a producer?
I think there's a lot of challenges, but I think it kind of runs in two categories. There's the the business side of the challenge, which is how do you get yourself out there? There's a
Exactly.
million producers who are trying to do the same thing you're doing, a million DJs. How do you get shine? How do you make sure people hear you? How do you build an audience? And I think that has a lot to do with just basic business skills, marketing, managing your stuff, and having good timing, and also just dedication, just making sure you put as much out there as possible. And there's countless other ways to succeed. I think that in business you just have to be doing something. You can't be shy, and that's the second part is the creative challenges. It's actually when you're making music or really doing any sort of art, it's really a personal thing. So you're putting yourself on it.
Right.
So when you put it out there and someone says they don't like it or something, it's really easy at first to be detracted and take it personally. Like, oh, you don't like that means you don't like me.
Right,
Exactly.
So
it's really finding confidence in your work, finding inspiration, making sure to go out and see shows, see other artists, stay connected. And so that's why being part of a community of other artists, other musicians, is really, really important no matter what art you're doing.
Yeah, and being in the Bay Area, I feel like it's a good way to collab with other artists, because there's quite a bit of artists out here. So what's like on the other side of the challenges? What are the rewards that come from? Is it, well, I'll let you explain.
I mean, there's a million. That's my favorite thing to do in the whole world.
Well, yeah, it is your passion.
It's really, it's making it's fun, and then putting it out there is a lot of fun. And then now that I'm DJing and actually I can test songs out, I can go out to the clubs and play a song of mine, mix it in with the other, the hits, see what people think about it. And so it's like it's a whole process that's different from being in your room. And then of course meeting other DJs, kind of hearing other people's sounds, I feel like there's definitely a movement coming out of San Francisco, the Bay Area, of like a lot of new producers with new sounds. And it's kind of cool to feel like I'm a part of that. I feel like I'm pushing for myself, and I'm also pushing for this whole kind of musical movement that's happening right now. So
I like that. That's awesome. I love how you touched into DJ, because I want to get into that. Like, how was your first experience going, to a club and DJing? Like,
I was a mess. Yeah, the first time I DJ'd, it was I was DJing for a rapper, Blimey. It's a friend of mine. She's a female MC.
Nice.
And she was her first time performing and my first time DJing. And I forgot my records, so I had to like take someone else's records, and I was trying to scratch and be cool, and I was all like, it's so like nervous, and so I think that happens to everyone. But it was after the first time I was hooked, just seeing everybody, and you're kind of in control of the mood, and I like that. I like to kind of be the catalyst for people to have a good time.
Nice. Yeah, you learned from it because you DJ'd at Sloan and the other places now.
Yeah, I recently had my first headline show was at Sloan nightclub in San Francisco. So
that's awesome.
They had me on the banner and all that. It was cool.
So what's the goal? Because I know you're pretty talented. You've done, DJing, producing, video editing and stuff. What's your ultimate goal, like, with music?
I think the ultimate goal is to be touring and going all around the world and showing people what I make and enjoying that and giving that to other people. That's the biggest goal. On a smaller scale, just to be making a living from music would be just mind-boggling. Just to be able to make music full-time and DJ full-time. I do work on the side. I do video work, and it's great. I love that too. But to be able to do the one thing you like and then make a living off that, I mean, that's the dream for anybody, right?
Yeah, that's the American dream. So what's some advice you can give to people that aren't lucky enough, like for you, that have loved music forever and just knew what they wanted to do, but other people who are late getting into it? What kind of advice can you give them if they want to get into the music industry?
I think it's never too late.
Okay.
I think there's older people, there's younger people. There's people like Action Bronson who only started rapping when he was like 20-something, 25 or later.
Right.
And now he's like a star. And so I think what it is the biggest advice I have for people I meet a lot of people who are just getting started and they have a lot of potential, and I feel like I can see what they could become, but I can't. And so I'll tell them this. I'll say, like, just put yourself out there. That's the number one thing. Something I feel like I could have done better is that I kept for the longest, it was just me in my room doing it by myself and not showing anybody. And because I was scared, scared to show it to people.
Right.
And I feel like that fear is really hard to get over. But once you get over that, you get better 10 times as fast. Getting that feedback is so important. And for anyone starting in any sort of thing, stand-up comedy or music, just put it out there. Don't be so shy.
Oh, that's awesome advice. Thank you, Tomas, for coming to the show. That's all the time we have today.
Thanks for having me.
So yeah, that's all. Thanks. Why did the prompter not go?